You wake up hanging upside down in a metal coffin that used to be row 14, seat C. Your seatbelt is the only thing keeping you from falling into a ceiling that's now a floor covered in shattered glass, blood, and someone's laptop still playing a movie on loop. The silence is wrong, not peaceful, wrong. Like the world held its breath and forgot to exhale. You smell jet fuel, burning plastic, and something else, something that makes your brain scream one word: move. You unbuckle, you fall. Your shoulder hits metal, and the pain is sharp enough to confirm you're alive. You crawl through the wreckage on hands that don't feel like yours anymore. You push past a flight attendant's arm still strapped to an armrest, no body attached. You climb through a crack in the fuselage and step outside. The Siberian taiga stretches in every direction like a frozen ocean with no shore. Trees so dense they swallow the horizon, snow so white it burns your eyes, temperature so cold your first breath feels like inhaling broken glass. The plane is scattered across half a kilometer, pieces of wing embedded in trees, luggage spread like confetti. In bodies, you count 6. Then you stop counting, you scream for help. Your voice disappears into the forest like it was never there. Nobody answers, nobody's coming. You're 2,000 kilometers from Moscow in a forest so remote it doesn't have a name on maps. You're wearing jeans, a hoodie, and sneakers. You have a phone with no signal and 12% battery. You have a cigarette lighter in your pocket that you forgot to throw away at security. That lighter's worth more than your entire life savings right now. You just don't know it yet. The first hour, the search, you need to confirm it. You need to check every body, every seat, every piece of wreckage, because the alternative, being completely alone, is too big to accept. You find the pilot still strapped in the cockpit. His neck is wrong. You don't look twice. You find a woman clutching a child, both frozen in an embrace that didn't save either of them. You find a businessman whose briefcase exploded on impact, scattering documents across the snow like a paper blizzard. His eyes are open. You close them because it feels like something a human would do. You find the black box. You don't know what to do with it, so you leave it. You check 14 bodies. Some you recognize from the boarding gate, the guy who complained about the overhead bin space, the teenager who was watching TikTok during takeoff, the old woman who smiled at you when you let her have the window seat. Nobody's breathing, nobody's bleeding. They're just gone, and you're not. The guilt hits you like a second crash. Why you? Why not the mother with the child? Why not the pilot who probably had kids? Why the random person in seat 14C who contributes nothing, knows nothing, and is absolutely unprepared for this? You throw up in the snow. Then you get back to work because guilt is a luxury you can't afford. Inventory. What do you have to survive? You start looting corpses. You tell yourself it's survival. They tell yourself they'd understand. You tell yourself anything to keep moving. From the wreckage, you collect 3 airplane blankets, thin, synthetic, useless against Siberian cold, but better than skin. 2 bottles of vodka from the beverage cart, not for drinking, for disinfecting wounds and starting fires. A first aid kit missing half its contents. 5 bags of peanuts, 2 sandwiches, and a chocolate bar. A woman's winter coat. It smells like perfume and smoke. You put it on anyway. A man's scarf. Someone's phone charger, useless without electricity. The cigarette lighter, the only thing between you and freezing to death. You take off a dead man's boots. They're too big, but your sneakers are already soaked through. Frostbite starts in the extremities. You learned that in a documentary you watched on a flight 6 months ago. Funny how the brain works. The sun is setting. You have maybe 90 minutes of light left. The temperature is minus 18 degrees Celsius and dropping. By midnight, it'll hit minus 30 degrees Celsius. Your body loses heat 25 times faster in wet clothes than dry ones. Your jeans are soaked from crawling through snow. You're already dying. You just don't feel it yet. The first night, when the cold becomes a person, you build a shelter under a half-collapsed section of fuselage. You pile snow around the edges to block wind. You spread the airplane blankets on the metal floor. You wrap yourself in the dead woman's coat and the dead man's scarf. The cold isn't cold anymore. It's a living thing. It crawls under your skin. It squeezes your lungs. It turns your fingers into wood. You try to start a fire with the lighter. Your hands are shaking so hard it takes 11 tries. When the flame finally catches on a pile of seat cushion foam and torn magazine pages, you actually cry. The fire is small, pathetic, but it's heat. It's light. It's proof you're still human. You eat half a sandwich. It tastes like cardboard and jet fuel, but you force it down because calories are survival. You hear sounds, cracking branches, movement in the trees. Your brain says wolves. Your brain says bears. Your brain says things that hunt. You feed the fire. You stay awake. You count the hours until sunrise, like counting down to execution. At 3 a.m., the fire dies. You're out of fuel. The cold rushes back in like water filling a sinking ship. You do jumping jacks in a space the size of a coffin. You slap your face. You bite your tongue until you taste blood. Anything to stay awake because sleep in this cold is just death with a nicer name. You survive until dawn. Day 2, the decision. The sun rises. You're still alive. Your lips are cracked and bleeding. Your fingers are white at the tips. You can't feel your toes. You have 2 choices. Choice 1, stay with the wreckage, wait for rescue. The black box is transmitting. Satellite tracking probably caught the crash. Search teams are coming. But when? Tomorrow? Next week? You have food for maybe 3 days. No water source except snow, which dehydrates you faster than it hydrates. No real shelter. No way to sustain fire long term. You'll freeze before they find you. Choice 2, walk. Find civilization. Find a river and follow it downstream. Rivers lead to people. Find a road. Find anything. But you don't know where you are. You don't have a map. You don't have a compass. The taiga is 12 million square kilometers of identical trees. Walk in the wrong direction and you're just dying somewhere else. You spend 2 hours paralyzed by the decision. Then you see something that makes the choice for you. Wolves. 3 of them, maybe 200 meters away. Watching. Waiting. They smell the bodies. They smell the blood. You're not prey yet. But you will be if you stay. You pack everything you can carry. 2 blankets, 1 bottle of vodka, the first aid kit, the food, the lighter. You leave the rest. You take one last look at the wreckage, at the bodies you couldn't save, at the life you used to have, scattered across frozen ground. Then you walk into the forest. The walk, when hope becomes a direction. You walk south, or what you think is south. The sun rises on your left, sets on your right. That's east and west. South is forward. You think. Hour 1, you're cold but moving. Movement is heat. Heat is survival. Hour 3, you find a frozen stream. You follow it. Water flows downhill. Downhill leads to valleys. Valleys have villages. Hour 5, your feet are numb. The 2 big boots are rubbing your heels raw. Every step is blood soaking into wool socks. Hour 7, you see smoke. Not from a fire, from your own breath. It's gotten colder. You check your phone. 4% battery. No signal. You turn it off to save power for... what? You don't know. Hour 9, you fall through ice into the stream. The water is so cold it doesn't feel like cold. It feels like electricity. You scramble out, gasping, soaked from the waist down. This is it. Wet clothes in minus 25 degrees Celsius. This is how you die. You strip off your jeans. You wrap yourself in both blankets. You pour vodka on deadwood and light it with shaking hands that barely work anymore. The fire catches. You dry your jeans 1 painful inch at a time, rotating them over flames like rotisserie chicken. It takes 2 hours. 2 hours sitting half naked in Siberian winter, feeding a fire with broken branches in pure desperation. But you don't die. Not yet. Day 4. The choice. You've been walking for 3 days. You've eaten the last of the food. You're drinking snowmelt that gives you diarrhea, which dehydrates you faster. Your feet are destroyed. Every step leaves blood in the snow. You're hallucinating. You see your mom. You see your apartment. You see a McDonald's that definitely doesn't exist in the Siberian taiga. You collapse against a tree. You're done. You can't walk anymore. You can't think anymore. You're ready to sleep. Then you hear it. A sound that doesn't belong to the forest. A dog barking. You stand up. You don't know how. Your legs don't work, but you stand anyway. You follow the sound. You stumble. You crawl. You drag yourself forward on frozen hands. And then you see it. A cabin. Smoke rising from a chimney. A sled with dogs. A human being chopping wood. You try to scream. Nothing comes out. You try to wave. Your arm barely moves. The man sees you. He drops the axe. He runs. You collapse in the snow. The ending. What survival costs. You wake up in a bed. Real blankets. A fire. Warmth that doesn't come from burning airplane seats. The man is a trapper. His cabin is 40 kilometers from the nearest village. He radios for help. It takes 2 days for the helicopter to arrive. You're airlifted to a hospital in Yakutsk. Frostbite took 3 toes and half of 1 finger. But you're alive. The investigators find the wreckage 5 days after you left it. The wolves had gotten there first. You're the only survivor. 47 people dead. 1 random person in seat 14C alive. The media calls it a miracle. The doctors call it luck. You call it something else. You call it the price of not quitting when everything in your body screamed to lie down and let the cold win. 3 months later, you're walking again. Sort of. You've got a limp, phantom pain in toes that aren't there anymore. Nightmares about the smell of jet fuel. But you're walking. And that's more than 47 other people can say. That wraps it up for today. What you just heard is based on real survival stories from Siberian plane crashes, including the 2011 Yak-Service Flight 9633 crash, where one passenger survived 4 days in the taiga. Would you stay with the wreckage or walk? Drop a comment. Hit subscribe for more survival scenarios that'll make you rethink every flight you've ever taken. See you in the next one.